Can you talk to me about your own health?
So I'm in France, I still remember, and I get this call from a 480 number. Yeah, Jeremy, this is Dr. So-and-so. He's like, I need you to sit down. And he's like, hey, we examined this. This is cancer, but we can't tell what type of cancer.
From the time that you got that call to the time that you knew something, what was that like?
Your why has to be bigger than money. I know a lot of people are money driven, but actually they're not. They say they're money driven, but there's a fear that they have. Every decision you make starts with your survival part of your brain.
What makes up the best entrepreneurs, the top 1%?
The first foundation that makes a great entrepreneur, a great anyone, is commitment. If you're not committed, you don't take the necessary actions to have success.
How important is communication?
In society, most people view what you do or anybody does as it's just kind of the same thing. What's going to differentiate that is how you frame what you do. A lot of people take advice from people who are not that qualified to give the advice. Your biggest expense in life is your lack of applied knowledge. I always say the biggest problem in life is
Jeremy Miner, welcome to the show.
Doctor, thanks for having me on. What would you like to discuss today?
You're a really unique guest because typically we have MDs, PhDs, but the one thing that you have in common with all of them is that they are the best at what they do, and so are you.
Well, at least grandma tells me I'm the best, so thank you very much. It's very kind.
You know, and you're an entrepreneur.
Supposedly, yes.
Supposedly.
Trying to figure it out.
An expert communicator, fair enough to say.
A few people would say.
A dad.
Here and there. Yeah, dad. Yeah.
And a human.
Yes, I'm hoping I'm human. Who
Me
knows?
too.
Maybe we're the aliens. I really don't know at this point.
Well, the reason I bring up humanity is because we are all fallible.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Aren't we?
Yes, we are. Tell me what makes up the best entrepreneurs, the top 1%. You're probably in the top 0.5%.
Trying to catch up with you. I would say, in my mind, it's the first foundation that makes a great entrepreneur, a great business owner, great anyone, is commitment. I think everything starts from commitment because if you're not committed, you don't take the necessary actions to have success. So in my mind, it's commitment. Like, it doesn't matter if it's a bad day or something bad happened or, you know, you've got relationship troubles or just anything could go wrong. You still wake up that day and you still get things done. And that's commitment. And I think that's something that people can actually learn.
You think they can learn it?
I do. I think anything is pretty much learnable, for sure.
Now,
almost everything.
Okay.
I'm not saying you're going to dunk a basketball like MJ, you know, if you're 5'4", but yeah.
Okay. Committed. You know, I, in my practice, I take care of a lot of elite CEOs and also tier 1 operators. So SEALs, that whole crew. And I've always felt that they were born that way, that their level of commitment and ability to execute was not trainable, but you're telling me that it is.
So I went to school to become a psychologist. So I specialize in like neuropsychology, like the study of the brain and how it works with a human being's nervous system. So really your whole belief system really stems from how you're raised as a child. So it's not really how you were born, but it's how you were raised and the people you were around. Your worldview could be influenced by, you know, your cousins that you hang out with, your parents, the church you go to. If you're a kid now, you're influenced by who you follow on TikTok, right? So your worldviews, your belief systems, like commitment, it could be anything, are really influenced by the people you're around as a child from the ages of 4 to 13. So it's not really, I understand like you're born, but it's like, it's who influences you where really a lot of that comes from. Now, it doesn't mean that you're not born as like a person that has a gigantic personality, but to really expand on that, to become great, it's who you learn from and kind of what you do with it is really get you to where you want to go. I wouldn't say you're just born with it completely. I think you have like a seed of it, but you have to expand that seed. And here's also why I say that, because you might have like, and by all means, I am not an expert as a Navy SEAL. Like,
but you are
I've
a
never
psychologist
been in the military.
Yeah.
But just, you know, it could be like one of the best Navy SEALs is a great Navy SEAL because quite literally they could have been like abused as a child, and they have this fear that they're never going to be successful because their parents told them they were worthless or whatever. And so they have this drive in their brain that they're afraid of like not being significant. And so to be significant, they want to be a Navy SEAL, and whatever they put their mind to, they're going to be the best at because they didn't feel significant as a child.
I actually think that part of that is very true.
Yeah. It's not that it's a bad thing.
Very true.
It's what Tony Robbins says. It's like, you have to look at life as like life doesn't happen to you. Life happens for you. It's what you make of what happens in your life, like what you do with it. And a lot of people just kind of react. And a lot of people play the victim card, whereas others, like an Oprah Winfrey, she was abused as a child, has a stillborn baby, African-American, raised in the 60s where there's like segregation and racism. I mean, what's the chance that freaking person becomes Oprah freaking Winfrey?
It's extraordinary.
You see?
And I would say that they are born with a certain level of attributes. And you said committed.
Yeah.
And that is your number one tip for someone who wants to be successful.
I think that's the foundation of success is commitment. Without commitment, it's really hard to be successful in anything.
But how do people become committed?
Like I said, I think it's the people you're around that influence you. Now, maybe if you didn't have the best childhood, it's like, who do you hire as a mentor? I think a lot of people don't realize that the cost, I call it the COI, a lot of people say it, and it's not just me, the cost of inaction. It's like a lot of people like want to learn from their mistakes. And I think that's good, but I'd rather learn from other people's mistakes so I don't make the same mistakes myself, right? And that gets you to your destination like 100 times faster. So I think it's who you learn from. So, if you want to be a doctor like you, it's like, who taught you how to do what you do? Like if they were like world class and great, that's great. And a lot of people that graduated with you probably are good, but you probably took it to the next level and the next level, and you kept learning and you kept growing. And that's what separates you from other doctors because you had that seed, you had that some level of commitment, you just expanded on that commitment.
One way to cultivate commitment is to be in the right circles.
Exactly.
Yes. Do you think there's another way? Are there ways in which, and I really like that you said this because people will say, oh, you're so motivated, or, oh, you're so disciplined. And I would say, yeah, but I think actually we're committed.
You're committed.
Now,
commitment leads to discipline.
Yes.
You can't be disciplined if you're not committed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And commitment is interesting because people don't really talk about it. They'll talk about discipline. They'll talk about motivation. But how does someone get very clear to then take the next step to become deeply committed?
I mean, I like I said, I think it's who you're around as a child that really, I mean, just from a psychology point of view, it's like who you're around as a child and things you learned that were both good and bad that kind of really start to shape you. But it doesn't mean you can't change that reality. Like an Oprah Winfrey. It wasn't like she had the best childhood, but look what she did with it. She took all this bad stuff that happened to her, and she didn't play a victim like a lot of people would. A lot of people would just be like, it's not fair.
Right. Look what became of me versus
I understand
what
that.
I became.
I totally understand that, especially if you don't know what you don't know. What I always say, the biggest problem in life is the problem that you don't know you have. Because if you don't know what your problems are, you have no idea to fix them because you don't really understand what the problem is, right? And that's why I always say, find somebody who's already mastered the thing you want to be good at and learn from them, because that's going to get you there 100-fold faster, and that can change your outlook. So there has to be somebody that influenced Oprah at some age, like as an example, to cause her to go the direction she did. There was some mentor or somebody she paid, or somebody took, her under their wing that really showed her the way. It's unlikely that she just did that herself. Very unlikely. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but your chances are greatly increased if you get around the right people.
If you listen every week and feel like we are in this together, which I believe that we are, learning, growing, and building strength, then I've created a way for us to get connected even more closely. It's called Forever Strong Insider, a premium community for listeners who want to go deeper. You'll get ad-free episodes, which I know you'll love, bonus Q&As where your questions shape the conversation, behind the scene moments, because let's face it, I'm hilarious, from my daily life, and written takeaways to keep at your fingertips. But more than that, you'll be supporting the show so that we can keep creating content that matters. If you've ever wanted to feel part of the inner circle, this is your invitation. Join us at foreverstrong.supercast.com or through the link in the show notes. Number one, probably discerning the right people is difficult. Mm-hmm. And then number two, is it important to have a very clear why in order to cross over to become so committed? Because again, commitment is when everything is falling apart, you're able to take the next right step, and it doesn't matter what you are surrounded by.
Yeah.
But to do that, from my perspective, you have to be so aligned that the world could literally be on fire and you're ready to take the next
I agree.
Right step.
It's like your why has to be bigger than money in my mind to achieve pinnacle success. It has to be bigger than money. I know a lot of people are money driven, but actually they're not. They say they're money driven, but there's a fear that they have. There's a fear of like maybe they weren't seen as significant when they were younger by their family or by their peers at school. Maybe they weren't loved. So money like causes them to feel like higher status because people like them better. Like there's all these fears that drive us to actually have success that we just don't think about.
I thought that was interesting. You had said that earlier because you're a very fit guy. And one of...
Well, yeah, I just go to the gym to try to not get fat. That's my whole goal.
Which is hilarious.
I go to the gym so I don't get fat.
Which is the opposite of, by the way, from our audience's perspective, it's all about muscle, right?
Yeah,
Fat is just a symptom of unhealthy muscle.
Sure, yeah.
But I would say the most, in my mind, we need to shift from being fear-based to look what I can gain versus look what I'm afraid of.
Sure.
But
the problem is we have this brain that's like millions of years old. Whenever God put the first humans here on the earth, I don't know when that was. And our brain was not designed for us to thrive. Our brain was actually designed for us to survive. So every decision you make starts with your survival part of your brain. That's the problem. I agree with you, but it starts from survival and fear.
It's challenging because do you think that you can overcome that fear or leverage that fear?
I do. Yeah, I do. I mean, obviously people do it all the time, right? But it's how so when we have things that happen to us, we all go through bad things. Everybody has bad stuff happen to them, right? But it's what you choose to do with that. Like, do you choose to be the victim or do you choose to react a different way and make that a strength, right? I think there's a scripture, God, I don't know what it's called, like God gives men weaknesses so he can turn them into strengths. So I believe that we get weaknesses. It's up to us to decide if we're going to make those weaknesses into strengths. Now, I'm pretty weak at like algebra. I don't necessarily want to make that into my strength because it doesn't really help me with what I do, right? But you see what I'm saying? We can take whatever we have in our life, and especially if we get around the right people that have already made those mistakes and we learn what they did well and what they did wrong, and we just don't repeat the same thing, it's really hard to fail at whatever you want to do, whether you want to be a parent or you want to be the best parent, or if you want to be the best business owner, the best salesperson, the best leader, the best doctor. I find it really hard that if you're committed and you get around the right people, right, that teach you skills that take to get to that level, it's really, really freaking hard to fail at anything.
For example, as a physician, you show me someone's disciplines or commitments, and I guarantee you I will be very good at guessing how successful they are in various domains of their life.
Are there attributes of people that would tell you if they're going to be successful or unsuccessful?
That you see. Yeah.
There's a lot. I think a lot of it is just how a person shows up in life, like even, are they on time? And I'm not even necessarily saying if they're on time or not. I know a lot of successful people that are always late, right? Are they always late? Like when there's something important going on, it's different being late to dinner on Saturday night compared to like being 30 minutes late for a podcast or something that is really important to do. So, that would be one consideration I'd probably look at, like, do they actually show up when they say they're going to show up? I know there's circumstances that are sometimes out of control, but if it's like a pattern, if anybody has like something bad that they do, it doesn't necessarily mean that something is wrong with them. But if they have they keep doing it, that's a pattern, that's a behavioral pattern. And that would tell you that that's a red flag. So if they keep doing this one thing, you're like, oh, that's a pattern. And that pattern's not good, or that pattern could be good. Really depends on what it is.
What about, how important is communication?
I can tell you.
Okay.
It's the number one skill, bar none, in the world, always has been since the dawn of mankind. So let's say that you're a Christian. you read in the Bible. It talks about there was a war in heaven, and a third of the host of heaven fell from heaven to this earth. Well, nobody talks about like, how was that war fought? Was it fought with tanks, bullets, guns, swords, shields? No, it was a war of words. It was a war of persuasion. It was a war of influence of ideas. And everything in this life, wars are fought because of lack of communication. Everything comes down to how you communicate your message, how you frame your offer. Like, let's say if you're a fertility doctor, we were just talking about that a second. There's a lot of fertility doctors out there. In society, would society, like if they heard like, I need to go get a fertility doctor, would they say like, oh, every fertility doctor is different? Or would they kind of just classify fertility doctors as kind of all the same? They just kind of do the same thing. So in society, most people view what you do or anybody does as it's just kind of the same thing. Like if you say, I'm a real estate agent, you're like, oh, real estate agent, they sell real estate. But there's no difference in their mind. So what happens if society views everybody kind of does the same thing in your profession and you're all kind of the same, what's going to differentiate that is how you frame what you do. It's how you frame your offer. I always say how you frame your offer. So imagine like you have two family pictures. You got, your family picture on your mantle or on your desk of you and your husband and kids.
Might be on my dartboard, but yeah.
Yes, okay. Yes, I like this. I like you. So you have these two family pictures exactly the same. You got to go buy two frames for them. The first frame you buy is like, you go to like the highest end store. It's like a $2,000 gold frame. I mean, it's immaculate. And you put that on that picture. For the other frame, you then go to like the flea market and it's got holes in it. It's got cobwebs. It's been beat to hell and back. And you put that frame on the other family picture, which is the same family picture. Which frame are you choosing? The one that was framed better. So we call that the POV, perception of value. So it's how your market perceives the value of what you do. It's not necessarily the value of what you sell, but how they perceive that matters. I know a lot of companies that have amazing products that nobody knows about because they're not very good at the perception of that value. I also know companies that have really crappy products and services, but they're way better at framing their offer and the perception of value is very much higher. So communication, like as a fertility doctor, it's going to come down to like, why do they choose me over somebody else? How you're framing what you do, how you make them feel, right? How you frame that offer is what matters at the end of the day. So your communication skills are everything.
That sounds like there's a very humanistic nature to framing and communication, meaning what is going to separate someone who's going to go, I want to go to that doctor versus the other one. I'd like to acknowledge one of the sponsors of the show, and that is Puri. This podcast has allowed me to speak to extraordinary experts, and they have one unifying message. There are only a few core compounds that we need in the diet, and one of those is omega-3 fatty acids. Puri's O3 Ultra Pure Fish Oil, which is third-party tested and certified by both the Clean Label Project and IFOS, so you know what you're putting in your body. It is safe, pure, effective. It is tested for 200 contaminants, and Puri publishes all their results online. I've teamed up with Puri to get you an amazing offer. 20% off site-wide, even on already discounted subscriptions, which means you can save nearly a third off. All you have to do is go to Puri, PUORI.com/Dr. Lyon and use the code Dr. Lyon at checkout. From a human perspective, how do we begin to communicate well? I'm going to give you an example.
Yeah.
I believe that we can have a stronger, more resilient world.
I agree. 100%.
And I'm trying to sell that. And I am selling that hard.
You're trying to frame that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because in my mind, and what I've seen with patients, if I say, you know what, you need to be stronger. They're like, no,
they're going to go one out there. It's like telling grandma, like, you got to stop smoking, and grandma keeps smoking for the rest of her life. Yeah. What's
the first step? And I know that you have a framework, but utilizing these tools to do good work in the world. And let's say it's not about buying into our medical practice or buying a book or doing any of those things, but actually selling a mission.
The first thing I'm going to talk about is how we view selling, because it's all going to start how you view what selling really is. Okay. So like if I asked you, like, is selling something you do 2 people or is selling something you do 4 people? What would you say?
4 people.
Most people would think it's 2 people because they've never thought about it, right? When you talk about the average person who sells something, okay, they believe that selling is something you're doing to somebody to, get your way, to get your way of thinking over, to win them over to your way of thinking, to, have them buy something that you want them to buy so you can get paid. That's how most salespeople, quite literally in the world, are trained. And that's why salespeople are viewed in the world as what? High status or low status? Lower status. How do people view salespeople in general? Lower status. Hollywood.
I don't know. I like those do you see those TikTok guys selling those cars in Australia?
I haven't seen that one now. There's a lot of
it's pretty hilarious, and they're dancing and
sure, that's
producers.
fun.
Do you guys know what I'm talking about? You don't? Oh,
but if you go to the car dealership here,
okay,
right, and if they're trained to like beat you on the head, right, because they don't understand how to emotionally open you up and those type of things, you're going to run the other way because you're like, oh, they're pushy, they're too salesy, right? That's how most people are viewed in sales. So the reason why I started 7 Level was to change the way sales is perceived in society. One salesperson, one company at a time, because I believe that communication is the number one thing that's going to determine your destiny in anything you do.
I totally agree.
Like Elon Musk, it's not like he was the only person who had the idea of the electric car. He just knew how to frame that and communicate and sell that better. Jeffrey Bezos, it's unlikely he was the only person who had the idea of Amazon. He just knew how to frame that better. He knew how to sell that message better. He knew how to do those things better. And that's why they stand out compared to everybody else that does something similar, is how they communicate what they're doing, if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
And it sounds to me like this is a transferable skill, because people are going to listen to this podcast and they're going to be like, Gabrielle, this is an unusual guest. And I would say, you are an unusual guest, but the mission is, it's not just about telling people and learning how to eat well, exercise, any of these health and wellness items that are really important.
Sure.
But none of that matters if we cannot communicate it well.
Yeah. Well, 100%. And communication comes down to what type of questions do you ask and when? I always say a lot of people have great questions. They just don't know how to ask when and how to ask them. Because have you ever wondered, like, if you look at salespeople in general, why do salespeople selling the same thing to the same prospects, the same price points, using the same script, how did they get completely different results?
Great question.
It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know much about sales, and
You
I
might
would
know
say
more than what you think.
I would also say I haven't studied communication.
Yeah,
but
you seem like a pretty good communicator.
It is. Thank you. And I would say I believe that if you can communicate well, then you can change the world.
100%.
And I want you to teach me in our time together.
What would you like to know? I just disclaimer, it's going to be hard to master sales in about 45 minutes. It takes a while.
But we can have the tools to practice.
Oh, 100%.
And also to understand. To understand. So for me, I'm selling health.
Okay. Yeah.
And when I say selling, I'm not actually selling it.
Sure.
But if we can get people to
You're definitely doing it for them, not to them, because if they don't get healthy, well, they're going to die probably a lot earlier than they could have, right?
Yes.
And they lose those memories with their kids, their grandkids. There's a lot of things.
And I want people to buy in to the mission and to the ethos that we can be a better, stronger, more resilient society.
Yeah. So let's say, okay, so I mean, there's a lot we could go through. What's your first question on sales?
How do you get the buy-in? And that's a big question.
It's a big question.
I know.
There's a lot of different ways. So like, what's a question you might ask? Let's say if you had somebody sitting in here and they wanted to, sign up for some course you have that's going to change their muscles, like get them in shape, better nutrition. I don't know if you do any of that stuff.
Do all that stuff.
Okay. So what's a question that you might ask or your salespeople might ask to help them find problems that maybe they didn't realize they had?
Their biggest pain point. Why are you calling? Why are you here?
I like that. I would relanguage it a little bit. Typically, the reason when we ask a why question, typically in that, like oh, why did you call? Sometimes people will get defensive a little bit. What caused you to feel like you might want to, look at what we do? What caused you?
What
Rather
caused
than
you?
why. Because a why sometimes will cause you to get defensive, right? Well, why are you doing that? Right. And so, well, I'm doing it because of, you see what I'm saying? Now, in certain contexts, like if I shifted my tone, like, oh, why did you actually call in? See the shift in the tone?
Mm-hmm.
That's a concern tone, a tone that shows empathy, right? So a little shift there if I want to use a why question. That's just a little example. So let's say that let's say they book a call with you, right? You're on Zoom. What would most people do when they got on Zoom? What would be one of the first words out of most salespeople's mouth?
Well, the first thing that I would do is I would think, gosh, my hair looks a little, I should brush it.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
What would you ask them? Most salespeople are like, hey, how's it going?
Yes.
And we think that's really innocent. And our mom told us to be polite to strangers. But in a business setting, that's a predictable question that most prospects are used to that pattern. So prospects, our brains pick up patterns. What would be a pattern we are pretty much used to every salesperson always asking us at the beginning of a conversation? How are you doing? Hey, how are you doing? How's your day? Now, do you sit there and like, oh my gosh, I am so glad that salesperson, they genuinely care how my day's going. See, they know that, the prospect knows you don't care, right? So a lot of times, even though they don't say it, their guard actually goes up because they're used to that pattern from everybody who's tried to sell them anything. And so they know that you're just trying to build rapport to sell you their thing. So I might relanguage that like, hey, welcome to the call. What's going on in your neck of the woods? I just shifted the pattern a little bit. I'm interrupting the pattern. Does that make sense?
And would this be and I know that
these are learnable skills.
These are learnable skills, yeah. And these are also helpful in any kind of dynamic, right?
We train every industry in the world, even doctors.
Yes. So that's
like I'm speaking at a big chiropractic association keynote training. They're one of our clients as well. We train lots of chiropractor clinics all over the nation. So it doesn't really matter. Every services, you have to have clients, right? You're always selling your thing. So going back to that, so then they might, yeah, I'm doing good. Okay, so for your industry, okay, so it looks like you booked on the counter about, hey, I guess maybe losing some weight and gaining some muscle, right? So what am I starting to do? Losing some weight, gaining some muscle, so you can. Now, would you know? Like, do they with you when they book? Do they fill out an application before?
Mm-hmm.
What would they say the reason on that application? Would they say anything? Would you know
well, patients come to us for energy, body composition, gut health.
What's the result of them wanting that energy? Because you're not selling them getting more energy. You're selling the results of what that energy does for them. That's what you're really selling. It could be a better sex life. I mean, literally, it could be a better marriage.
I did actually just write a paper on that.
That's what I'm saying. It could
published,
be
peer-reviewed journal.
Go read that. It could be they want to get promoted and they want to have more energy in the job. It could be they want to spend more time with their boys playing basketball on the weekends. But like that's the end result. That's really what you're selling. You're not selling energy. You're not selling health. You're selling the results of what that does for them. That's what people buy. They don't buy the thing itself. And too many people that sell things like try to sell the thing. You have to sell the results of what the thing does. That's just the vehicle that gets them the thing they want. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. So I might get on there if they put on the form that you have, like, oh, I want to get more energy so I can, get back out in the dating world because they just went through a divorce. They just put it that way. So I'm going to add that into that first question. Okay. So it looks like I was reading your form. So it looks like you booked on the counter about, hey, maybe losing some weight, gaining some muscle so you can get back out in the dating game, right? See how I'm instantly taking them from usually price or cost-based thinking, because that's what most people think.
Price or cost-based thinking, okay.
When you first start talking to a salesperson, what's one of the first questions you start asking yourself? How much is this gonna?
Do I ask that?
Do you start to
So for me, I'm pretty direct. I want to know what it is, how much it's going to cost.
I know, but in your mind,
that's it.
you're thinking.
Yeah.
Like what does the average person think when a salesperson first starts talking to them? Like, okay, that's great. How much is it? Like you're thinking that. You might not say it, but you're thinking it. So the question is, how do I take them from price or cost-based thinking where they're focused on that to the results-based thinking? So that first question starts to shift that.
And that first question should be unpredictable.
Well, yeah, so that question I asked, you probably never even heard that type of question before. rather than like, why did you call in? I might ask that a little bit down there. Okay, so it looks like you booked. I'm going to start to shift their frame.
Well, you said what's going on in your neck of the woods, or something like that.
I wouldn't even do that. But I'm just saying, if you like, some says like, oh my gosh, like I'm hyperventilating, because I always ask everybody how their day's going, even though we know that that's actually a trigger question, because most people are used to that. Like,
so what would be another way? But what's another way to start? Just as I'm thinking, because it could be for anything. So is there another way? What you're really getting is engagement. Yeah.
So I'm starting to shift their focus from how much it's going to cost to the end result that they want. So it doesn't matter if I'm calling anything. Yeah, John, it's Jeremy. Jeremy Miner with XYZ Company. You responded to the ad. You asked us to call you back about looking at the red 2022 Honda, right? If I'm a car salesperson calling a lead back off the internet. I mean, it doesn't matter. We train every industry. So it's the frameworks we train.
On this show, we focus on what builds a stronger life. And for me, that includes the hours no one sees, evenings at home. And that's really our reset. Dinner with the kids, 10 minutes of reading. Okay, if you ask the teacher, it should be 20. And then lights out. Cozy Earth, one of the sponsors of the show, has become part of this regular rhythm. Their bamboo sheets made from viscose feel amazing and are temperature regulating. They naturally wick away heat and moisture, so if one partner sweats, the other one doesn't. And I will tell you this, on family movie nights, the bubble cuddle blanket has become an all-time favorite. It's plush, mid-weight, and looks great in the living room. Here's the best part. You get a 100-night sleep trial for free. Try them out, and if you don't love these blankets or sheets or whatever it is, you can return them hassle-free. And if you're going to improve one thing about your home life, well, let's just start in the bedroom. And yes, you guessed it, start with sleep. Go to cozyearth.com and use the code Dr. Lyon for 20% off. The code is Dr. Lyon, and they will send you a post-purchase survey. Tell them that you heard about it on the Dr. Gabrielle Lyon Show. Because hey, home isn't just where you live, it's also where you sleep and how you feel.
Give me another thing that you do. I'll just show you another first question you can ask. I mean, it could be a fertility doctor, like somebody calling back to a potential patient. They're not a patient yet, but maybe they filled out a form.
Yeah,
okay?
Exactly.
And you
I love
booked
this.
a call.
Yes.
Okay, so looks like you booked some time to come in to talk to Dr. Johnson about, well, getting pregnant, having a family, right?
But see, there's a problem here.
What's that?
You are too likable. And so how you're likable.
You think that's something you can learn though? Because like what I just did with my tonality and the questions, is anybody born with advanced questions out of their mother's womb? Anybody born with advanced tonality?
I think my sister.
Okay. Anybody born with advanced tonality skills out of their mother?
No.
Unlikely. Anybody born with advanced objection prevention skills? Unlikely. Anybody born with advanced questioning skills? Unlikely. Those are all learnable skills.
In creating this framework, communication is one piece. How do we begin to think about problems so that we can communicate better? And I'm saying problems, but again, selling people into the practice.
Yeah.
How does the framework work?
Okay, so those are called problem awareness questions. So what most business owners and salespeople do, and really anybody that sells anything, is the prospect will tell them one problem, and immediately what do? They're like, oh yeah, that's a really bad problem. Let me show you how we solve that. And they go straight into their solution. But the problem is usually the first problem the prospect tells you is not really the real problem. It's the surface problem. So it's like the Titanic. It's like the iceberg. They're just showing you like the tip of the iceberg. I teach you how to go like all the way down the other 750 meters to find the whole iceberg. So you find out everything. I call that problem finding. A lot of people say, oh, you got to be a good problem solver. I'm like, well, if they don't buy from you, you're not really solving any problems. If you want to be great at selling your services or whatever you do, you have to be better at problem finding. That means, how do I help them find not just one problem, but 2, 3, 4, 5 problems they didn't realize they had? And when you're able to do that, it actually raises your status in their mind because they view you as more of an expert because they've never been asked that type of question. Does that make sense?
It does.
So like, give me an example. Let's just go back to your industry. So they tell you a problem, like give me a problem that maybe somebody told one of your last salespeople that they had when they first called in. Like, oh, I called in because of this.
I can't lose weight.
I can't lose weight. So do we know at that point? So what did the salesperson? Oh, you can't lose weight. What do they do at that point?
I don't know.
What would they normally do? Oh, well, that's
I see.
that's one of the we solved that. Like, let me show you how.
That's exactly that's exactly.
But the problem is like, what if that night? So what if they didn't buy on the call? Let's just say they didn't buy on that call, but they're going to buy the next day, or they put down a down deposit and they're getting their funding together in a day or two, right? And then somehow on TV, they see some new wonder drug, lose weight now. Because that salesperson only found that one problem and didn't really open them up emotionally, now they're like, well, maybe I don't need to buy that $10,000 training thing because I can just get that weight loss thing for $35 a month. And then the next day they call and they cancel. See, once I found that problem, I'd want to help them find many other problems. So I might then say, well, yes, I mean, that's a big reason why people come to us for sure. Like, how much, where are you at now? Just so I understand, like, what do you weigh now? So when we're talking about weight, you're very sensitive. We're like, hey, what do you weigh now? Well, that's kind of private. But like, just help me understand, like, what do you actually weigh now? See how my tone shifts down.
I know. I'm mesmerized.
That's a concern tone. That's something you learn.
You learn these things?
Yes. Who's born with a concern tone, a tone that shows empathy compared to a playful tone? Those are things you have to learn. You know who teaches that kind of stuff?
No.
Well, we do now, but I went to acting school to learn that type of stuff as a salesperson. My second year in sales, I was at this event with a guy named Larry Moss, teaches like Helen Hunt's one of his clients, Jennifer Gardner, Jim Carrey, Tobey Maguire, Leonardo DiCaprio. So in acting, do you know that when you go to high-level acting school, like we're talking highest level, we're not talking about just, Betsy down the road for $20 an hour. No offense, Betsy. I love you. But at the highest levels, they teach those actors and actresses facial expressions, tonality shifts, body language, verbal pacing, verbal pauses. You know why? Because can you imagine who's your favorite actor, actress?
I don't know if I have a favorite, so let's just say The Rock.
Don't tell me you're one of those. I never watch TV. I never watch movies.
Oh, no, I do. I'm watching The Terminal List on repeat.
Okay, so The Rock.
Yeah.
Okay, so The Rock. That's great. So can you imagine, I don't know The Rock's tonality, but imagine The Rock in, what's your favorite movie with him? He's got a lot of funny movies.
Well, I mean, right now, while we're watching our cartoons, I would say Moana.
Oh, well, okay, that's a bad example.
Yeah,
Let's say Tom Cruise.
Okay,
Mission
great.
Impossible 12.
Perfect.
So imagine if Tom Cruise was like, if he had the same tone the whole movie. John, we got to go down to the river because there's a bomb there. And if we don't get the bomb, the CIA is not going to do anything. The CIA could like destroy the whole world. And then there's going to be anthrax. And then at that point, we wouldn't be able to do anything. And then after about 5 minutes, you'd probably turn off the show because it's a monotone tone. There's no shifting in the tonality and the pacing of that tone, just like I did right there. Those are things you learn how to do. Nobody's born with those skills. I would love it. I was born those skills. It would have made it a lot easier. I wouldn't have had to, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to acquire those skills for sure. It'd been great.
Thanks to one of the sponsors of the show, Bond Charge. Man, if you're a mom out there and you've been carrying the whole team, I got a different form of therapy for you, and that is red light therapy. And listen, good light impacts sleep, hormones, mood, and even your ability to recover and focus. Bond Charge has created science-backed tools to help me live in better alignment with my circadian biology. Artificial light is overloading us. They have blue light blocking glasses that are a staple in our house. They have red light. They have red light bulbs. They also have infrared PMF mats to help chill my body, relax my muscles, and support full body recovery. If you've never tried red light therapy, this is the time to do it. They have some of the best devices that I've ever seen. Great for skin, mitochondrial health, and overall resilience. If you care about your skin, if you care about your sleep, if you care about your body, and want to try something new, check out bondcharge.com/Dr. Lyon. Use the code Dr. Lyon to get 15% off your entire order. Simple, proven, designed to support your biology. In terms of top performance, I mean, the only way you get to where you are is because you're committed and you've sought these things out.
Yeah.
What do you think is important as it relates to top performance? How does someone get to perform at the top?
Well, I think it's anything. I always classify people in 4 categories. And I think I classify salespeople in these 4 categories: business owners, moms and dads, doctors, anybody. There's 4 types. There are those who wing things. Those are the wingers, right? So those are the people like in sales, that would be the type of person that, says something different to every prospect. They don't know what works. They don't know what works. They don't know what doesn't work. And when they don't make a lot of sales, who do they typically blame? The prospect. Oh, prospects are broke. Like they got fear. They never blame their lack of skill level. Where most of those salespeople go, they get fired. That's the winger. Now think about like in your profession, what would be a winger? Somebody that probably like walks into the gym, kind of hits a few machines here and there, doesn't know what to eat that caused them to lose weight, just, eats salads with Thousand Island dressing smeared all over it and wonders why they don't lose weight. That would be a winger. They just kind of wing it. Does that make sense? And that's why they never get what they want, right? So that could be a doctor, that could be a CEO, that could be anybody, an athlete. They just kind of wing it, and that's why they never succeed.
But
right?
They rely on their talent instead of hard work.
They could work hard. Like you could be a salesperson and work your head to the ground, but if you don't know what you're saying that works, you don't understand what not to use, you can still work hard and not be successful. It just really depends on what it is, right? The second type of person I classify as more, they kind of dabble in things. I call that the dabbler. So if they're a salesperson, a dabbler would be somebody that would maybe buy a few sales books a year, maybe attend a free event, maybe they follow me on Instagram or YouTube to get a free, these are free, it's just free basic content. And they believe the lie that if they just stand long enough, if they get enough reps, eventually they'll figure it out themselves, which we all know that strategy takes years, if not decades to ever do. And if they ever get good, they're forced to play the numbers game. They have to work 12, 14 hours a day because they're not very good at communicating. They just put in more hours and they eventually burn out. That's the dabbler. So like in your profession, what would be a dabbler? Somebody who just kind of dabbles in it. Think about that. There's probably some doctors that went to medical school and did just enough to get the degree, but they're not really that successful in their practice because they just kind of dabble in it. They don't get better. They don't learn new technology. They're old school. We probably call that like a dabbler, if that makes sense. Like a Navy SEAL, probably not a dabbler, but there's going to be Navy SEALs that are up at this level compared to some that are at this level. So once they got to that level, what did this person do compared to these people down here? There was something different they did, right? Tom Brady, same thing. Okay, I could go on and on. Then you have the know-it-aller. That's the person that in sales initially invested quite a bit of funding in sales training. They got good. Maybe they got to 6 figures, multiple 6 figures. Then they get a big head, big ego, think they know everything about persuasion. They stop investing their skill level and their income gets capped. So think about your profession. What's a know-it-aller? Somebody who thinks—
Annoying.
Yeah. Well, somebody who thinks that they know everything, that they can never get better, that they're best and that everybody else— that's a know-it-all, right? And we all know that comes from ego. And we all know ego is the greatest prohibitor of somebody getting to the highest level they could, right? And then the fourth person, I call that person, it's any area of life, I call that person committed to mastery. That's your top 1% or higher. The ones who are committed, like committed to mastery, they're always investing in their skill level because they know their skill level determines how much they get paid. Right? And they know that training is not something they like did in the past, but training is something they do to get to the top and stay there. So think about like your favorite athlete. Were they a winger, dabbler, know-it-aller, committed to mastery? Committed to mastery.
Always.
Best doctors in your space, including you. Winger, dabbler, know-it-aller, committed to mastery. Committed to mastery.
I don't know many people that are not committed to mastery.
That's a good circle of friends to have, for
I
sure.
mean,
that's where you want to be, right? You want to be around people who are all committed to mastery. Not everybody is though, but that's a choice. You can choose that. Or if somebody who's on that road to mastery, like you might not have mastered something yet, but you're putting in the time, you're putting in the skill level, you're learning from other people. That's a good person to be around too. If you're new and upcoming, right? You're not always going to be like hanging out with billionaires, as a 21-year-old necessarily, but you can hang around people who are going that place. So if you think about any person in life, the greatest parents in life, wingers, dabblers, know-it-allers, committed to mastery, like I could keep going on. So those 4 types of people, and you just got to decide which group you want to hang out with.
It sounds pretty extreme,
It just depends on what type of results you want in any area of your life. Like I said, it could be a parent, winger, dabbler, know-it-all, committed to master. Like if you want to be the best parent in the world, you're going to probably get books and training on like how to do everything the right way. You're not just going to wing it like a lot of parents do. I've winged parenting sometimes here and there. I'm going to be real, but I've had to, like, in the last several years, I'm like, I need to learn more about relationships and stuff. I've done all this stuff with sales and sales training. Like, have I been a dabbler in relationships? Like, I need to take a relationship course. I went to Tony Robbins' relationship stuff. It was amazing. I learned so much, Yeah.
And then you apply it. So there's probably a difference between those that just do and then those that ultimately apply.
I always say your biggest expense in life is your lack of applied knowledge, not just knowledge. I know a lot of people that have a lot of knowledge, they just don't do anything with it. They don't apply it.
So here's what I think. So if I'm being honest, I think your skill.
Thank you for being honest with me.
Yeah.
I hope you be honest with me.
Yes. It's so funny when someone says, oh, I'm just being honest. You're like, would you normally lie?
That's exactly why I did that.
But what I'm trying to get to, and I think that the audience will love, because I'm also interested in it.
Yeah.
And meaning, I think that people don't make the connection between what your profession is. So we're talking about sales, but what you're really good at, and forgive me for saying this, is people.
Yeah.
You're very good at people, framing questions and connecting and moving them towards action.
That's what selling is. Most people just have never been trained to do it the right way. I've come in and like humanized sales. And it just becomes from my background. I was going to become a psychologist, and I'm not a psychologist, by the way. I actually dropped out. I want to clarify. I dropped out my senior year. I have 8 credits left, legitimately.
Why would you do that?
Because I was already in, like, I had a big corporate career. I was making 5 times more than the professors teaching me. And I was like, I'm not going to be a psychologist. I'm going to be in the sales side. So like, why do I need to finish my degree as a psychologist? I just didn't, I was just making too much money as a kid. I was like 22. So but going back, I took what I learned from my studies. And it wasn't, I expanded that. Like, I would go out and buy courses. I would go to seminars. Like, you're not going to learn all that stuff from just going to Psych 101 or anything, right? You're going to learn a little bit of that. But I took that, and my first job I got in college was selling door-to-door, like, alarm systems. And I remember the sales manager, he told us, like, yeah, you got to knock on 100 doors. You're going to talk to 30 people that'll be home. Out of those 30 people, you're going to sell 1. So my brain is like, well, if I talk to 30, like, why can't I sell like 25 of them? I don't understand. Like, I'm preventing something bad from happening. It's like life insurance almost. Like, I'm deterring intruders from breaking in, like physically, like, coming in, hurting people, like tearing stuff up, stealing valuables, like, all that stuff. So like, my mind was like, that doesn't make sense. Like, I don't want to talk to 30 people and I sell 1. Like, I want to be able to help as many people as I can. So when I first started, because I didn't know what I was doing, right? I was just using their script, door slam, slam, slam. And most salespeople would be what? They'd be like, oh, this is a bad neighborhood. These people are mean. They're all broke. Always blaming the prospect. My mind goes, okay, what did I say? Or what did I ask? Or how did I use my tone that triggered that reaction in their nervous system? Because anytime somebody goes into fight or flight mode, that's a triggered reaction. Not from them. It's something that's triggering that you're doing, the salesperson, okay? And so I just would reverse engineer. I'm like, oh, yeah. If I talk too fast, they seem like they're just, the guard's always up. So I need to slow down a little bit. And a lot of stuff I had to just kind of learn on my own. Now, I learned from other people, body language experts. I learned from Larry Moss, tonality, those type of things. And I kept expanding that. But I was looking as like, I was kind of like Tom. I always like, you ever seen that Tom Brady documentary? It is so good. It talks about his life and his dedication to the craft and how he became the best. And Tom never really blamed his teammates necessarily. Very rare. He always was like, oh, I threw that interception. So he'd go back and watch the game film. He'd be like, oh, yep, my front foot, I was too forward on that. And so the ball sailed about 4 inches high. He's always looking for his mistakes so he can correct those the next game. That's how I viewed sales. I'd always review the film, the game tape, or the recordings. I'd record a bunch of stuff to see, where did I lose a sale? What did I do right there? And I started like putting it all together.
And that's a parallel for life, right? It's how you do this would also translate to how you become better at life.
I want to know what I'm doing wrong. I always say like I said, the biggest problem in life, biggest problem in sales is the problem that you don't know you have. Because if you don't know what your problems are, you can't ever fix it. So it's always really good to take constructive feedback from the right people, though.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people take advice from people who are not that qualified to give the advice. And that's the problem that I see with a lot of people that have training programs is a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are amateurs. They just don't have enough experience. They don't have the credentials. They don't have the success. I was talking to, Alex Hormozy. I'm not like personal friends with him, but we talk here and there.
I know his wife.
Oh, okay. I don't know his wife. I've never met them. We talk on the phone here and there. And I was congratulating him about his big book launch and all that stuff. And we were talking about like all these people out there, these coaches or whatever. They're like, hey, we're going to scale your business to 100 million, 200 million a year. And you find their background, they never did that in their own business. So if you're taking advice about how to scale your business from somebody who never scaled theirs, like what's likely going to happen? Probably not what you want. And so you always have to see like, who am I taking advice from? What was their track record? With what they're teaching me now, what was their track record when they were in the thick of it? Because I always say you can steal somebody's content, but you can never steal their wisdom and their experience in making that content. That's why it'll always be a watered down version of what you do. It's like trying to copy Tony Robbins just because you hear him at events. If you don't understand the psychology behind it and how he came up with it and his experience using it, you're going to be a shell of that person.
Do you think that sales has taught you to navigate life better?
It is. And you know what it is? It's still teaching me that. I always say, I know nothing. I'm just a student. I'm still learning just like everyone else.
In terms of rejection, sales has a lot of rejection.
It depends on your skill level. If my skill level is up here, I'm going to get a lot less rejection than if it's down here, right?
Wait, $3,000? Wait, is that number right? I've spent more money on skincare. My pores should be tax deductible, maybe even have their own trust fund. And thank goodness that I found OneSkin, because OneSkin, it doesn't just make empty promises, it's research driven, minimalistic, and tested for beauty, skin health, and longevity. OneSkin is the first topical skincare backed by peptide science that targets skin aging at the molecular level. I slather this on all day. They have a peptide that is designed to reduce the accumulation of dead cells or zombie cells that drive inflammation, tissue breakdown as we age. Now, this isn't about cosmetic quick fixes. It's about changing the biology of your skin, strengthening the barrier, improving firmness, hydration, elasticity with clinically tested ingredients. So, if you are focused on aging well from the inside out, it's time also to think about your skin. It should get the same level of care. Go to oneskin.co for 15% off. Use the code Dr. Lyon. It is amazing and it will not break the bank. How would you now or then, how would you handle rejection?
If somebody doesn't buy something from me, like when I was in the trenches selling as a salesperson, working for companies, it's not like I sold to everybody. But they knew when I got out of that conversation that I was genuinely concerned for the consequences for them of them not changing their situation. And that's how I looked at sales. Like, I'm sorry I couldn't help you, but I wouldn't say this, but like they knew I was concerned about the consequences because they didn't buy. And that gets a lot of people to call you back, if that makes sense.
So you didn't internalize it?
I don't know, because like, I'm not the one that has the problems. They do. I'm the one that can solve them though. That's what sales is. Like, I'm not the one that has the problems. I'm the one that can solve them. So why? I'm not going to qualify to them. I'm not going to be a douche, but I'm not going to qualify to, you know what I mean? That's some salespeople like that. Like, oh, I'm not sure if you're qualified for what we do. Like, nobody believes that. Like, that's not a technique. So I'm not going to qualify to them. I teach salespeople how to get the prospect to qualify to you, because you're the one that can solve their problems. You can take away their pain. You can take away their fear of future pain. Right? I mean, with what you sell, I always say this, the two biggest emotional drivers that cause a human being to want to change are actually pain and the fear of future pain. A lot of people say it's pain and the pleasure's second. Pleasure's a distant third. Just like I told you, like with what you do, if somebody's like, man, I got to get in the best shape of my life because I want to look great in that bikini this summer on the beach. Well, that's what they say to you. But what is their fear? They have a fear that when they get on that beach, they're going to be judged by others. They're not going to look that good. They're not going to feel good. That's a fear of future pain. Pleasure is always a distant third.
That's interesting. I would always think that motivation, not motivation in the sense of rah, but the overachieving aspect would drive people or to see what they're capable
Well, fear
of.
can do that.
Mastery,
Fear can drive you to overachieve. Fear is not a bad thing necessarily. Fear can literally drive you to be successful because maybe you grew up poor as a kid and you never want to be poor again. So that fear continually drives you to make more money.
Does that create, so you are known, I don't know if you know this, but for a very high performance lifestyle. Did you know that?
Really? I did not know that.
And you were saying that did you know that?
I didn't even know that. I thought we were just a sales training company. High performance lifestyle.
Yeah. A high performance lifestyle is, it's being able to operate at a very high level. And there's a level of mastery for that.
Okay.
There is not a difference between being the best at what you do over here versus being the best at what you do in medicine or being the best at what you do if you're a speaker or communicator.
Yeah.
There are through lines.
Yeah.
And there are habits that go with those through lines. So I'm curious as to some of your high performance habits. Do people not ask you about your own personal physical habits?
Just to be upfront with you, I go to the gym so I don't get fat.
Which is hilarious, I've never heard that.
I literally say
from
that all the
a
time.
high perform.
Yeah, like I go to the gym so I'm not going to be, I think most people go to the gym.
No.
Because they just don't tell you that.
No, they would tell me.
I'm just real. They definitely, look, if somebody's like, I want to get big, I want to be strong, it's because they have a fear of looking out of shape. They have a fear that people are going to judge them. It just comes back to the human needs we all have. Really think about it.
If that is the case, what are some of the things that you do so you don't get fat?
So I go to the gym. Depending on travel schedule, I try to go 5 days a week when I'm in town. I'd say on average it's about 4 times a week, but I do 3 times a week. I do HIIT training. So I have a coach there at the gym owner, has a coach. It's 4 of us, it's really good. I go at 5:30 in the morning. I always wake up at 5. I'm not a 4 a.m. person. Those are a different breed.
That's for sure.
My CEO wakes up at 3:30. I'm like, bro, the 3 a.m. club, you're a whole different level. I'm 5 a.m. I'm the wimp.
They have genetic mutations. I swear.
Something's going on.
They do.
Something's going on.
I'm telling you.
So I go to the gym early. That's the time I can just get it done. So 3 times a week I do HIIT training. 1 time a week I do CrossFit. That's usually the schedule. If I go 5 times a week, I'll probably do HIIT training 4 of those times, 1 time a week CrossFit. I try to eat halfway decent. I'm definitely, I would say, a dabbler in the eating game because I have a weakness for cookies here and there, but I try to get sugar-free cookies. That makes me feel better. I don't know why. I'm not sure. It's probably just a marketing
You've sold
thing,
it to yourself, yeah.
78% less sugar, So I just, I take supplements.
You do? What kind of supplements do you take?
I took the 10X supplements, but I just switched over to a new brand.
Okay.
I don't know.
But you don't overthink it? You don't overthink it?
I need to do better. Better
or outsource it to someone who is a master at their craft.
I need to get a master. I need to hire you, doctor. 100%.
I'm not taking patients.
Ugh. See? Look at this. She's getting me to qualify to her. I like it. You're already
I don't even know what I'm doing, but no. Anyway.
You're already learning. Well, you can maybe refer me to somebody because I need to take it more seriously because we're all getting older. Here's what I would say. Time flies by quickly. Time is your biggest asset.
It does.
Because once it's gone, you can never get it back. You can be a billionaire. You can't buy more time.
That's right. Or more health. So I want to know, you're not off the hook. Dabbler on supplements.
I would say I'm committing to mastery on supplements. I'm doing much better. I've had peaks in my life where I took them all the time for years straight. And then for some reason, something goes wrong with an order. I just get busy. And then 4 months later, I'm like, crap, I need to take supplements again. So I probably need to hire somebody that just does it for me.
What about nutrition? What does that look like for you?
I eat really, really healthy, Sunday through Friday. I am really, really good. So I buy meals from Protein House, some other place. But I have I had a trainer that I hired that did my blood work and stuff and showed me all the what type of food to eat, why this is better. So I did really good. My weakness is Saturdays. I don't do very good on Saturdays, doctor. Sometimes I eat cookies on Saturdays. If I could just cut out the cookies.
No, that's by choice because you know it's coming for you.
Yes.
So it's not actually a weakness.
And I know the mind plays tricks on you and I still have a hard time overcoming the mind. I'm working on that. I even know what the mind is doing.
No, you don't. You want to have those cookies and you're telling yourself it's a weakness.
There's a sugar addiction. Sugar's a drug.
No.
It's not a drug.
No. And typically addictions don't just happen on Saturday afternoons.
Okay. Valid. You know, I'm like the person that's like really like these days of the week, like I am perfect, but then it's like a cheat day. You know,
What
and
else?
I just go too extreme on the
Yes,
cheat day.
of
It's like
course.
3 meals of a cheat day instead of one.
Listen, I am telling you, I will tell you this as someone who takes care of entrepreneurs, health is a common denominator. They will never get higher than their health. You cannot outpace your biology, period, end of story.
Sure.
And I would say entrepreneurs are the new kind of warrior. I mean, we have the warriors, but their tolerance for pain and suffering and mistakes is very high.
Yeah, the mental clarity. I want to talk to you about that when I have you on the show for sure.
Which is going to be soon. Can you talk to me about your own health? So there was something, and I think it's really important to share when we go through stuff, because people look at you and I'm sure they are inspired and they think everything is easy and all of it is rosy, but it's not all the time.
So you're talking about the stuff, the cancer stuff.
I am.
Okay. A lot of people, I've only been asked that like one at a time. So I found out, I had no idea. So about a little over 2 years ago in June, a little over 2 years ago, I noticed like there was just like this ball back here at the back of my leg, like the backside of my leg. And it had been there for probably at least a decade. It didn't hurt. I never thought anything about it. And I was just rubbing it one day. I'm like, you know what? I should probably go to like a dermatologist one of these days. And I'd said that before, years before, I just never did. And so I went to a dermatologist, you know, because I didn't know what it was. And, you know, he examined it and he's like, you know, it's a tumor, but it's like 100% benign for sure. Like you don't even need to get it taken out. Like you can get it taken out or, you know, we can go in and take it out. It's totally up to you. It's 100% benign. If it's been there for 10 years, it doesn't hurt or anything. I'm like, why don't you take it out? Because like,
and you went to a dermatologist?
I just had a feeling. Yeah, because I just thought it was a bump. I didn't know what it was, you know?
So not a general surgeon. You went to the dermatologist. They ultrasound it?
So yeah, so they just thought it was benign. So I went to the dermatologist. They removed it. And I still remember his words. He's like, oh, yeah, this looks a little bit different. He's like, yeah, we'll take it back. I'm sure it's not a big deal. Like, you know, we'll you know, whatever they do. And, you know, I was going to Europe for vacation like a week later. He's like, I'll call you in a couple weeks. He's like, yeah, he's back, but don't worry about it. It's probably nothing. I'm like, okay. So I'm in France. I still remember the room I was in France. I was in a hotel room. It was in, was it Mars? No, it was Nice. No, Marseille, France. And I get this call from a 480 number and it's like 10:30 at night. I'm like, who's calling me? Like, and I never usually answer the call, but for some reason I was like, I need to take this call. I don't know why. And it was an unlisted phone number. So I just like, hello. He's like, yeah, Jeremy, this is Dr. So-and-so. He's like, I need you to sit down. And I'm like, I had a weird feeling. I don't know.
Wait,
and I'm like, okay.
Can you pause? Was your heart racing?
Yeah, I didn't really know what to, it was almost like the moves, like, I need you to sit down. It was that tone shift, you know, you could tell like there was some concern there. And he's like, hey, we examined this. He's like, this is cancer, but we can't tell what type of cancer. We're going to send this off to the Cleveland Clinic because this looks like a very rare type of cancer.
Sarcoma is very rare.
Yeah. And we want to make sure. And it's going to take about 3 to 4 weeks. Well, I had just got there probably like 3 or 4 days. I had about 3 more weeks there. So the whole time I'm there, I didn't know, like, did I have 3 months, 6 months, a year, 10 years? It might not have been a big deal. I didn't know, but it was an interesting time in my life for sure. And so when I got back, I didn't tell anybody though. But the thing, a lot of people are like, why didn't you say anything to anybody? Because I didn't want to, especially since I didn't know what it was at that time, I didn't want to worry anybody, especially like all my employees. Like, I think I told my business partner at that time, that was it, and swore secrecy because I didn't want to worry about it. I got clients, you know, we got clients all over the world. Like, I'm not going to get them worried, but I don't even know what it is. And so then when I got back, he's like, you know, it's sarcoma. It's like 65% survival rate. So this, and then they did the MRIs or whatever they do. They didn't find any cancer anywhere else. I just didn't tell anybody because I didn't want people to worry, if that makes sense. You know, I didn't want my kids to worry. I didn't tell my kids till like a year later. I didn't tell any of my employees. I didn't go out and announce it or anything because first of all, I was like, it wasn't like stage 4 or anything, you know, but it was big.
But you didn't know at that time.
I didn't know. Well, even when I found out, you know, because then I had to go get surgery on it. So then they bring in, because the dermatologist is not like a tumor specialist.
No.
So when they did that, some of it, they got most of it out, but then it like spread out all over the place, right? In here, right? So then they bring in like a really high level specialist. He takes it out. He removes the rest of it out. That was a painful surgery, by the way. Holy hell.
Were you under general anesthesia?
What they knocked me out.
Knocked
Yeah,
you
for
out.
sure. It was really painful. Like I was on like, what's the drug they take you? Oxycodone or something, like every couple hours, like it was painful for about 5-6 days, really bad. And so anyways, then I keep going, everything's good, start walking again after 5-6 days, back in the office, working everything. And then like 3 months later, I was it was actually right after, because there's a bunch of staples. There's like 45 staples there. So I think I had to have the staples there. It was big. It was like all the way here. So after they took the staples out, it was like maybe a month and a half later, I remember I was speaking on stage in Salt Lake City. And I remember it's like the day after, I just kind of moved this way real quick. And I felt a tear.
Gosh.
And I was like, oh. And then I went to the hotel room that night and it was bleeding a little bit. And I could tell it was like open. Well, I didn't think anything of it, like an idiot. And the next day I went to like Cabo and I'm sitting in like the hot tub, and that's probably not a good idea with an open wound. Well, then it gets infected. I get really sick the day I come back, like 2 days later, and they have to I almost passed out. So my girlfriend at the time took me to the ER because I was like white in the face, looked really bad.
You were going
and
septic.
I got some type of infection. It's called, it starts with an S. It's a bad infection. Staph infection, yes. And so then they'd open the wound back up, and for 2 straight days, they put like some type of drains in there. So I have like this wound.
And IV antibiotics.
Oh my God. Yeah. The painful 2 days of life, morphine, all that stuff, just drug me up. And then they bring in the doctor again to redo it. And so then I had to go through, so it was like 3 surgeries in like 6 months. Not very fun, but I'm just complaining now.
Okay, first of all, you're not complaining. And second of all, I want to share what sarcoma is, because it's a rare type of cancer. And it arises from mesenchymal tissue, which is connective tissues that support in the body. And there are more than 70 different subtypes. It is very rare. It's either soft tissue sarcoma, bone. This wasn't bone. This was soft tissue. It is less than 1% of all adult cancers.
Wow. There you go.
From the time that you got that call to the time that you knew something, what was that like?
It really taught me a valuable lesson that our lives fly by really quickly. And so, I was worried about my kids. I have 5 kids, especially my youngest one, because she was 5 at that time. I was like, is she going to know her dad growing up? So that was really tough on me. My older kids, they would miss me, of course, but they're a little bit older, now they're 18 through 24, but I was still worried about them. What would their lives be without me? What would my company be like without me? So these things were all going through my mind, at that point, for sure, in a big way. That was pretty rough, but it taught me a valuable lesson that at the end of the day, you take 2 things with you in the next life. You take your knowledge that you learned, and I believe you take the love that you had for your family and your fellow man. And that's really the only 2 things you take in the next life. And so it made me start to realize hey, there's areas of your life you need to get better at, because you don't know your time or date that, God's going to take you. So it was a valuable lesson for sure.
And do you still think about it?
Not as much anymore, because it was isolated to that. So the doctor's like, it's very rare. Like if it was spreading all over, we got a problem. But since it's been there for 10 years in the same place and hasn't spread, it's good. But still, I definitely cut down sugar intake, different things like that. Took more supplements. I need to get better. It comes up here and there. I don't think any of us, I think AI is really cool, because I think that AI is really going to help with some of this stuff, preventative stuff. But it's definitely a situation that it really causes you to really reflect on your life, for sure.
Most people don't have those. They go through life and they don't have those.
Yeah.
How did you process it? I mean, because you said it was a tough time, but I
just kept going. Like the thing with me is I put on horse blinders.
Yeah.
Like we have hundreds of thousands of clients everywhere, every industry. They paid us to get a result. I'm not going to let my circumstances hold them back. So in my mind, that's why I didn't say anything, because I'm like, I don't want to get them worried. Like, they're going to be taken care of. Like, I have to still perform for them. And so I think that really helped me, because it caused me not to think about it all the time. Like, I didn't have self-pity. Like, I was like, I have things to do. I have people to help. Like, I'm going to go forward. And I didn't really think about it that much. I thought about some, but like, I wasn't sitting there like crying every day. You know, like, I'm doing something in my life. I have purpose. And that's why I want to stay here. And I think that's important. I think a lot of people don't do that. They get into this like, oh no, you know, like, why is this happening to me? I didn't necessarily think like that. I just thought like, it's a thing and I got to deal with it, but I've got other things I got to deal with, and I'm just going to go forward. And I know that's probably not the most greatest answer, but it's just kind of what happened. I just had things to do. And so there's just another thing that I had to deal with. And I think as an entrepreneur, you have things you have to deal with every day. And as long as you know that you can do those things, and you can do them at a high level and do other things, like, you don't worry about it.
There was no narrative. I do.
Yeah. I don't have like a sad story around it. I'm just like, I got to do these things. This is the thing I have to deal with. I was kind of pissed off because it took a lot of time. I had to go get MRIs and like all these scans all the time and sit in waiting rooms, and like, this sucks.
Yeah.
It's, you know, I had to go like just all this stuff for like 6 months, you know, like every 4 to 6 months, I have to go back and get more tests or whatever to make sure it doesn't come back. But it's annoying.
You have to do that now?
Yeah. It's like every 4 or 6 months, they do some type of scan or something. I don't know.
This might surprise you.
Yeah.
But the best of the best at what they do do not have a narrative about. I had one patient who, he was a 20-year SEAL, and he lost his leg. Some girl was texting and driving. And he was, you know, in my office 6 months later. And I was asking these questions, just much like I'm asking you now. And I was like, how is this? How are you doing? And I'm expecting this pity and you know, a litany of other answers. And he was like, you talking about my leg? He's like, Doc, that was like 6 months ago. Get over it.
He's got things he's got to do.
He's got things he's got to do.
Yeah.
You know, I have a lot more questions for you. And I know that we are probably running out of time, because you have to
some great questions. You really made me think. It's really good. Thank you.
So my last question is, if you could give people one piece of advice, whether it is in business, in sales, in health, in life, what would it be?
It's going to sound boring. I always say success is simply a choice. Choose well. That's about it. It's just a choice. Once you choose, you do the things that successful people do. You make decisions like successful people do. You make choices like successful people do, but you first have to choose.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think you're very inspiring.
Thank you very much. You're going to make me cry up here. Tear me up. And
I hope everybody learned something. You know, this is a section that we're calling Strong Icons. And it's not just about medicine. It is about the person in their very whole being. So thank you so much. I was wondering what you were going to ask me today. I was wondering what you're going to ask me today. I'm like, what is she actually going to ask me about persuasion and influence and stuff? This is you have a really show. Congratulations. Thank you.
You're welcome.